A.J., do you have an opening statement?
No.
You thought you built up your pitching, your starting pitching, where you had enough last year, you didn't. So how do you make that better?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably I think from our standpoint, just constantly looking for depth and looking for numbers and quality. Some of it's going to come through the system. We've got some really talented young pitchers that we've got to get them to take another step in their development process, so that they're very real options for us at the major league level. Probably the biggest part is just health and exactly why and what happened. That's all part of our off-season process, kind of looking back and seeing where we're at. But honestly, hopefully having a little bit better luck as well, and looking up and seeing some really talented pitchers be able to take the ball. I think all those factors. I think for us, adding to the depth, seeing some development of our own guys, getting some better answers on the health question, and having some guys take a step back and get back on the mound. I think that's what we're looking for here in the 22 season.
Besides Gore, who would you consider to be among the group of young guys that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw Reese Kinnear come up. Ryan Weathers is the youngest pitcher in the big leagues at 21 years old. We'll have other guys coming back from injury. The Michel Biases, the Adrian Morihone. So Efrain Contreras as a younger pitcher that was starting to make some noise in our system. So again, we have a lot of depth and talent in our system, and I think a lot of the focus last year, because we just had a lot of injuries, so I think a lot of the focus may have been on some of the top end starters. But when you look up at Matt Strom, Drew Pomerantz, Jose Castillo, Michel Baez, Adrian Morihone, some guys that we counted on as the second and third waves. When those guys went down as well, that's how we looked up and we were again, we were in a spot at the end of the year where it wasn't where we wanted to be, and got to make sure we prepare for that.
The process isn't as linear as some people would like it to be. You win and you win and you win. But how do you view last year as a part of your process?
I mean, I think for us, ultimately you win a lot. I do think that's the part that we're trying to get right and make sure that we do. But there's been other teams that you look up. I mean, I know Houston in 2015, I believe they had a really good team playing the playoffs, and then in 16, things didn't quite go their way, but that didn't stop them for the next 5 or 6 years from being as good as any team in baseball. So I think for us, the biggest thing we focus on is just learning from the last 6 weeks. And I think for most of last season, we felt like we were a playoff team and we were positioned to be that in the standings. But the biggest thing that we've got to do is learn from the last 6 weeks, learn from the season, and a lot of confidence with the players and staff we have in place that will do that.
How would you assess how Gore did in the AFL?
I think the biggest positives, I think, again, he's back throwing the ball, well from a stuff standpoint. I think velocity and, quality of his pitches, I think that was a big positive for us. And we saw that, both last summer and then into the minor league, season when he got a chance to go back out into the system. But I mean, he'll be the first to tell you he's still got to tighten up on a few things from a command standpoint. Just get a little bit sharper with overall with some of his secondary pitches and his fastball command. But it was fun seeing him back out there. He had some dominant moments, and now we got to make that more consistent.
Is he still throwing bullpens with Neil?
No, I mean, I think him coming into Petco last week, he had a chance to work with Ruben a little bit. I think that was kind of the last step for him in this season. It's been a long year for him. Now he'll get on an off-season type program and get ready for spring training.
How about CJ? How come he hasn't been able to get out?
Yeah, so CJ was coming back from the broken tibia, and he was basically about ready to get going in the fall league, and he dove and he has a bone bruise. I think left shoulder bone bruise. So I think for us, it's more of a cautious situation, and I think he'll be ready for spring training next year. It's not anything that's going to be long term or anything like that, but I think dealing with that bone bruise, really the only thing for him is rest, and doctors have told him rest for I think 6 weeks now, and at this point trying to go back and play the last week or two of the fall league, we didn't see a lot of value in that. So he'll get ready for next year and be ready for the start of spring training. Participate in our programs in Arizona starting in January and get ready for spring training.
Where's Mike Clevinger at this point in his rehab process? And are you confident that he can be effective after this?
Yeah, he's in great shape. He's on schedule from a throwing standpoint, and we expect him to be ready for spring training. So he's had a really good rehab process. Again, I think we've been through these, and some we've had some guys do well that have gone through a good program and been able to go out and take the ball and pitch well. the final step's always the most important one, in terms of going out every 5 or 6 days and, and making starts and throwing 75, 80 pitches. But he's in a good place right now going into the off season, and he should be full go here when we get ready for spring training.
How much back and forth did you and team doctors have with Fernando before he announced his decision to not have surgery?
Yeah, we had a lot of conversation. I think we want to make sure again that it's obviously an important decision for him, important decision for the organization. So we wanted to make sure he had all of all the information in front of him, and he had ability. All kinds of different conversations with our team doctors, trainers, PTs, outside sources, outside doctors, and I just want to make sure he was making an informed decision. He did, and now we're he's into his off-season program, and his shoulders from his standpoint, it's it's as strong as it's been. It's testing out strong, and just get ready for the season for him.
He landed on IL 3 or 4 times. I know one was due to COVID. Is there a frustration on your part if he's not on the field because the shoulder popped out?
Yeah, everybody wants to see Fernando play. So I think everybody, at the end of the day, it's he's a super exciting player. He's a super impactful player. So again, I think the goal for everybody is to look up and how do we see Tatis on the field for a full season into a playoffs, because that type of player helps us win games, generates a ton of excitement, and is what everybody wants to see. So that's the goal, and I think ultimately he feels like this is the path that he wants to go in. We're supportive of it, and again, we saw it in the last 6 weeks. Like, he came back in those 6 weeks and he didn't miss any time at that point in time. So I think it's on our staff and Fernando himself and everybody to make sure we see that for a full season. With Tommy, ultimately, I think probably the biggest thing that I think we all respect on him is that he's somebody that that looks himself in the mirror and felt like he didn't quite get it done this year. It definitely wasn't for a lack of effort. He put a ton of time and effort into it. His body was banged up a little bit, and I think we'll have those conversations in the next couple of weeks about whether or not he comes back as a Padre next year. Yeah, I think that was probably one part. At the end of the season, with the team not playing well, I think it may have been easy to say, hey, there, and the way the season ended, giving everybody kind of a bad taste in their mouth. I think probably the best part was like sitting down with guys and talking about it and kind of seeing it. Like, we played hard to the end of the season, and more so like the players, they enjoy being there. They enjoy being in the clubhouse. They enjoy being with each other. And probably the biggest thing that came through loud and clear is like they believe in this team. They believe in the group. So again, like, you take that information in, and then ultimately it's up to myself and the front office staff to kind of evaluate where we fall short. But from that chemistry standpoint, we've got a lot of guys that believe, a lot of guys that love what's going on in the Padre organization, and I think love being a part of this team and this group. And I think that's that's honestly sitting down and talking with everybody. That chemistry, I think that's going to help us here a lot in 22.
Do you think the roster's as close as everybody expected to be before the season, or just a matter of guys underperforming? Like, how close do you think you are? Do you think it's a situation where maybe you need to make more moves than you thought you would at this point, based on where you were before?
Yeah, I think we're always going to be, we're always going to look at ways to improve our team and our club. And again, ultimately at the end of the season, our record is our record. So we're not going to run away from that. I think again, you try to evaluate the whole season, and for 2/3 of the year, we were a team that was scheduled to play in the playoffs. So you don't want to overreact to something here, over the course of the last month. But we'll take it all in. We'll see where we fell short. We'll try to fortify the club in those areas, and that's the point of the next month or so, is try to find every way possible to get better.
Has Bob been able to make contact with any players, and what have you heard from them about bringing in management?
Yeah, I think the guys are excited. I think again, like Bob, like the track record. Probably the biggest thing is they speak to their, the other players in the league that have played for Bob, that have played against Bob's teams, and I think everybody, they see, what he brings to the table. He's had a chance to talk to a lot of the guys on the roster, and I think really just the biggest thing, I think guys are excited.
Do you expect to engage with Joe Musgrove's agent on a possible extension?
Yeah, I think all those questions, again, I think that's all. We always keep that close to the vest and private in terms of what we end up doing and how we do it. But Joe had a great year. He loves being here in San Diego. He is part of the chemistry and the fabric of the club, and has real leadership ability. All things that we're going to value, and we'll have we'll talk to Joe, and we'll talk to his group at the right time and go from there. Yeah, I think like for us, we just ultimately the biggest thing is being prepared and trying to see what fits. We've had some off seasons where it's we haven't lined up on things. We've had some trade deadlines where just feel like nothing for us. Things that don't really make sense for us, and we're never gonna be reckless. I think ultimately, top to bottom, Peter Seidler, myself, Bob Melvin, we want to win a championship, and we understand what that's going to take. But honestly, it's just more about trying to be smart and doing things that fit for our team and our group. I don't think this offseason will be any different. I think we'll try to line up on some things that fit for us. If we have trades that fit, that makes sense, we'll go and do them. Same with free agent signings, and the whole point of everything is to try to win a World Series.
What's that going to take? If you guys have an understanding of what it's going to take
to win a World Series? Yeah, it takes a lot. I think obviously it starts with super talented players, and it starts with having the right people in that locker room, in that clubhouse, and I think we've seen it for large stretches of the last 2 years. I think that's why fans and the attendance and the atmosphere that we all saw at Petco this year. I think the only reason for that is because people are excited about the team. They're excited about this group, and they think this team has a chance to win a World Series. And I think that's why the disappointment was so great at the end of the season, because I think everybody felt like this was a team that was capable of playing deep and winning a World Series. And again, I think we all feel that, and it's ultimately getting back to where we think we have a team and a roster that's going to be able to withstand 162 and play deep in the season.
How important is this offseason toward that? Because disappointment can take people away from the ballpark too. You guys raise ticket prices. There's a lot of anticipation. How important is this offseason to make your team better?
Yeah, it's always important. Every offseason is important, because there's very few times that you usually end of spring training and definitely trade deadline and definitely the offseason, you get a chance to go out and make decisions that impact your club and your roster. So obviously there's a lot of talent on the free agent market. There'll be players that'll be available in trades, and ultimately what does it take to win? It takes it's no secret. It's great starting pitching and deep bullpen. An offense that puts pressure on other clubs. Great defense. I think we'll continue to look at our roster, try to make sure we find those pieces in the next couple of weeks and months. Hopefully, there's some guys out there that make us better.
AJ, a lot of stuff swirling around out there about that. On the record, do you want to move him, and what's it going to take?
No, I think for us, with Eric brings a lot to our team. We knew that when we signed him. I think we'll sit down. I said this earlier in the day. We've been focused so much on the managing search and getting Bob in place, and now putting the coaching staff together. And we'll start to turn the page and talk to all of really sit down with our players here over the course of the next couple of weeks and hear from them, hear what their expectations are, and more so lay out from Bob and myself and others, what we think we need to do if we're going to win a championship. We see our team having Eric, a championship team in San Diego with Eric as the first baseman, and we see that. And we'll get a chance to sit down and visit with everybody, Eric included, in the next couple of weeks, and make sure he shares that view.
Have you come close to trading him at the deadline?
No, I think a lot of the conversation, deadline talk, speculation that at times is accurate, speculation that I think we all saw that this year at times is not accurate. The biggest thing is with Eric, sat down with him at the deadline and explained that. Ultimately, we looked at all different ways to make the team better. We did have conversations about first base and how to do that, and ultimately made the decision at the deadline last year that our best team and the best situation for our organization going forward was with Eric and as our first baseman. Nothing's changed in the last couple of months from my standpoint from that. And we'll see where the offseason takes us and what the next couple of weeks look like.
I'm sorry, you did say you sat down with him?
Yeah, I sat down with Eric the day of the deadline, and sat down with him, right after the deadline, and spoke to him there and had an opportunity to talk as well, as we got towards the end of the season. But we'll sit down, here in the next couple of weeks with everybody. It's not just an Eric Hosmer sit down. We'll start really getting with all of our players, and hearing, hey, here are the things that they feel like went well last year. Here are the things that we have to do better as a group and a team. Here are some things the organization can do better for them. Those will all be had here over the course of the next couple of weeks, and get a better sense of where everybody stands. Yeah, I think 2 halves for you in terms of his performance. First half he was as an all-star and he's obviously very consistent and pitched like a front rotation guy. He's in San Diego right now. He's working out already, getting ready for next season. We want to make sure the hip and the low back, some of those issues he had in the second half, that we get that in a good spot. Have a lot of, Yu is a very hard worker. He's very smart and diligent about his body, his preparation, and that'll be the big part of the focus for the next few months, is just making sure he comes into spring training ready to pitch a full season. And some of those tweaks that we saw in the second half that affected his performance, making sure that we were able to, to put him in the best position possible, and he feels like he's ready to go all year.
Will he go back to tennis? What how's he going to split it?
Yeah, I think he spends a lot of time in the offseason. I'll talk to him here in the next couple of days. But he spends a lot of time in the States, and I think he enjoys San Diego. I think he's it's a great place to work out. He's a big time workout guy in the off season. He's already started, and we'll sit down with him and kind of map out his program. I think we have a lot of players that other teams call us on and talk about. So that's why I think that's why we've had the ability to make moves, and we have a lot of different options. And again, I feel like even just in the last week here, the first few days of some trade talk conversation. There's players. We have quite a few players up and down throughout the organization that other teams want and are interested in, and that gives us the ability to have creative conversations and see where it goes. So I think we're you always, again, I think the biggest key and the biggest currency is talent, and we have a lot of talent in the organization. So that'll give us some flexibility and some options. And again, I do think though ultimately this isn't about just flipping the roster or anything like that. We feel like we've got a team that's we have the core here of a team that can win a World Series, and it's probably going to be like adding the right piece or two to that talented core.
What's the priority as you prepare to hire your seventh hitting coach? What are you looking for?
I think overall, probably the ability to connect and with our players. That's part of it. It's a tough job. I think it's not just for the Padres. I think you're seeing throughout the industry. Somebody said the other day that's almost half the hitting coaches got turned over here over the course of the last in the last few weeks, honestly, in this off season. So exactly why and what the reason is. But again, I think looking for real knowledge and content. I think somebody that connects with the players, somebody that fits in with the staff, because I think we have some holdovers from the current staff that'll have a voice on the hitting side. That'll have some good thoughts and ideas. And again, it's a tough job in terms of the hitting because of the nature of pitching right now, the power pitching we've seen, and somebody that has some answers for the group.
Where are you right now in your catching situation?
Again, I think with he's had some obviously all different kind of injuries over the last season. I think some of the injuries from the hand standpoint seem more flukish. Taking a foul tip that goes off your glove hand, and then the torn thumb ligament on I think it was a collision at the plate, or at the end of the season. But we like from Nola, Caratini, Campusano continue to develop. I feel like we have real major league catching and guys that should be that ultimately are impactful. And I think just again it's another situation, getting those guys on the field for us. I think that'll be a big part of it. But yeah, we like what we have behind the plate, and I think that's an area we can see some real improvement here this year, is getting Nola back, continuing Campusano development. Caratini's second year in the organization should be an area where I think we see a more productive situation behind the plate for us. Yeah, I think he was in Petco. He's here this week, so I think he starts his throwing program, I believe, the first week of December. So I think everything's been good from that. That was a planned postseason break basically. But he's in Petco this week with everything going on meeting wise. I'll probably get more information here in the next couple of days. But I think his throwing program is supposed to start up the first week of December. Out of Chris, you said? Yeah, I think again, I think Chris. He's capable of being, a guy that can pitch in, one of those top 3 or 4 spots in a rotation. And that's the expectation. It's, I think we saw it, very consistently in that rookie season. I think, in the 2020 season, for that first month, pitched like a front of the rotation type guy. Kind of had his first taste of some failure there in the last month, and with that postseason outing against the Cardinals. He came back this year, and there were moments where he was dominant. And I think just getting those moments to be more consistent from outing to outing standpoint, pitch to pitch standpoint, that's the key and the goal. It's in there. It's a very real fastball. It's a good changeup. It strikes. He's a great competitor, and it's his work ethic is is well above average. So those are usually good components for somebody to be successful at the big league level. That's our goal here for going into next year, is to make sure that we see that the guy that I think we've seen at different points over the last couple of years get that for 30+ starts next year.
David Force said yesterday that when you have a manager like Bob Melvin, it gives the front office just one less thing to go ahead and worry about. Do you expect to be less hands-on, or is there a sense of freedom? What changes about what you do when you have someone that experience?
Yeah, I'm hoping for like 6 less things to worry about than 1 or whatever. No, I mean, I think everybody, I think for us from a front office standpoint, all we try to do. You want to ask questions. You want to ask the right questions. You want to, again, I think what we've tried to do is, participate in the process. But ultimately, when the manager takes the field, he's got to, feel like he has, the information and the resources to make good decisions. And you never want him looking over his shoulder. And that's something I talked to Bob a lot. That's not our style. It's not my style from a game management situation or anything like that. Again, he brings a ton of experiences. Himself, a lot of great baseball takes. I think coming from the other league is good too, because he's seen those players from a different perspective. We'll definitely rely and lean on that. Bring in other staff members that some be promoted from the system, some from the staff currently, and then bringing in some other staff members that that Bob has his experience with and trust. It's good to kind of get a different perspective, and we'll lean on that a lot here over the course of the next few months. Yeah, that whole GM question, again, I think focus honestly more on like the duties and responsibilities. I think part of it feels like at times title, for certain people, and I think for us, we've never focused on that. I think we have plenty of people, Josh Stein, Fred Ullman, they do the work of GMs, presidents, assistant GMs, director of baseball ops. They do all kinds of good work, and I think from our standpoint, the focus really is just winning and trying to put a winning product on the field. In terms of giving somebody that title at some point in time, yeah, that's something we'll talk about. But I'm focused more on how do we put a winning team on the field, and I think the rest of that will kind of handle itself. I think what we've talked about honestly are kind of loose guidelines. Talking to Peter, I think like the way we work, again, like come back, have a sense of, hey, this is where we want to take this thing. But I think with Peter, he's always like, let's talk about, here are the different paths we can go down. And I think if we have something that lines up that takes us into an area from a payroll standpoint, either above kind of that where we're the projection or below it, we have those conversations. Hey, here's the impact. Here's what may happen, and why we feel like this is important, and and go from there with it. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it.
How did you?
Nah, good to go. See you guys in a few months.